If present-day Americans lived in a third world country for a few months, they would quit bitching about America. I see all of these people talking about how America is this and America is that. I want to take these people to a third world country, leave them there for a couple months and then watch their opinions change faster than they can complain about their favorite Taco Bell closing. Edit 1. Y'all acting like me saying this implies I hate people criticizing the country. I hate people on Twitter and Reddit whining for no reason. For all you simpletons out there, BLM equals good, hating on America cause you have to wear a mask equals not good. Edit 2. All of you getting butthurt and straight up salty. I live to watch people like you rage. Smiley face. Flying back into Miami after a year in Haiti. Couldn't believe how clean everything looked. Out of curiosity, how was Haiti? I always wanted to visit. It's a beautiful country and the people are, generally, very friendly. The abject poverty and overall lack of infrastructure can be intense/overwhelming for Americans. Source: born and raised in Port-au-Prince, worked there for a couple years and have brought several American friends to visit. People who have gone through really tough shit and worked their way out tend to be pretty good people. They don't sweat the small stuff and just do what they've been working towards, which is living a good life. I was born and raised in a third world country. I was in no way poor, but wasn't an easy life. I live and work in a big European capital now. It boggles my mind when my colleagues complain about stuff I can easily endure like overtime or missing a weekend. My friend who has only lived in big cities his whole life endlessly complains about all of America's issues, only really seen in big cities. He is convinced that capitalism is the evil of the entire world and considers hard work as being a bootlicker and would rather fight for free handouts. He always throws the word privilege around way too much. The irony is that his parents, immigrants from Haiti, worked their asses off to put him through college, from which he failed twice, but they kept putting him back in until he finally got his act together. Myself, being born in the US of Indian parents who immigrated here, we are in the same boat. America isn't perfect, but there is a reason people to this day risk everything to move here and work hard. It's really insulting when people like my friend take their privileged lives for granted. Hell, I don't care what race you are, if you are born here, you already have a step above most people who aren't. Yeah, sadly people who have almost nothing and have actual things to complain about are the ones that don't, and they're the kindest of all. I feel like it should be the opposite and Americans should be the ones that are kind and humble, although that's unfortunately far from the case. You are 1000% correct. Spend enough time with happy third worlders, and it becomes difficult to hang around with the seeming majority of Americans who are whiny, terrified of the future, and negative. Could possibly be because of what Op said. You take an American who's unhappy and put them in a place with nothing, and they come back with a new appreciation. So you take these people from the place where there's nothing, and bring them to America and their quality of life improves. I lived in Iraq for a while, I can agree with this. I'd add that your worldview can easily change with the more of the world you see. Get out there people. I'm Iraqi can confirm, but I can see why we Americans complain, and that is because we're supposed to be a first world country and a superpower. So the bar is raised higher than the standards of other countries, which is why we expect more. As citizens we do deserve the best to be provided so that in return we provide more for our country. I think Op was talking more about the fuck America people, which are the marginalized, left-wingers. Op is saying that if poor blacks and whites saw how bad Haitians or Pakistanis have it, they would shut up. Lol. It's a way spicier statement than I think 99% of people in here think it is. I'm glad I wasn't the only one thinking this. Kinda shocked in the direction the comments went. Brah, I see a lot of people on Twitter saying how they want to destroy Western society. I know it isn't all good, but it is still better than other countries. Life pro tip: don't read Twitter for advice. We have more people, but we also have more resources. How many of those most populated countries are richer than the US? None. We are the richest country. Yet we have to look to the third world to feel better about how some of our countrymen live. Per capita GDP is far higher in the United States. We should be able to provide so much more for each of our citizens. The only reason why we don't is because profit comes first, every time. The abysmal failure of a healthcare system we have is the biggest example, but is far from the only one. The people who say this are ignorant. They don't know how lucky they are. Most don't even know what hard work is. Most are white-collar students or haven't been working for long. Nothing will turn you against this country faster than putting in hard work and then realizing the American dream is a lie for most. It's why millennials and zoomers tend to be as radical as they are. Either socialist or alt-right. Because everyone wants change because the system sucks. It's why our candidates are Trump or Sanders. We want radical change because we've put in the work and shit ain't working. The first thing sacrificed in most Western societies is family. turned 18? Only see your parents once or twice a year? Got in a relationship? Ditch your siblings for your parents got old? Send them to nursing home. Some things you did get right, but at what cost? Western society is the worst, most racist, sexist, bigoted, and corrupt society in the entire world, except for all the others. I really wish people who believe that shit would go to the other 90% of the world where women are regularly passed up for job opportunities or straight up aren't allowed to work. Being LGBT will get you killed and the government tells you how to run your life and will send goons after you if you don't do what they say. I talk lots of shit about America. I also was born in Panama and spent time serving the people of Cambodia. Just because things could be worse doesn't mean we should stop trying to improve them. I can agree with this. Describing the USA as a third world country is inaccurate. Almost every problem people complain about is here is insanely worse somewhere. That doesn't mean we should hold ourselves to the standards of places that are developing, or under the hand of truly evil or dictatorial leadership, or just haven't changed yet. I spent some years in Mexico and a bit in Brazil. Sexism and racism there is way more blatant than anywhere I'd seen here. Still, that shouldn't mean we shouldn't try to do better. If you weigh 250 pounds, just because there's someone who weighs 400 doesn't mean you shouldn't work out. But describing yourself as morbidly obese isn't true either. Yes. Thank you for explaining it so well. If I'm proud to be an American, I want to work hard to create the best America. It's not just complaining on Reddit. I vote, I write and call my representatives. Okay, but like that is such a minority. Social media is a terrible representation of most people living in the US. The dumbest people are sadly oftentimes the loudest. Not to mention that a lot of people on social media are young. I mean, I'm 22 but I've been through college at least, smiley face. This is because there is a small number of Americans, as well as plenty of non-Americans who hate America, believe it has no redeemable qualities, and are willing to turn a blind eye to any positives about the country while magnifying any negative they can find. They are currently the loudest voices. And they start with the belief that America is evil. They then can point to any negative as proof they are right. It is a very cult-like mentality. You're almost right. Americans like perspective. We need to experience more of the world to understand what we do well and what we do badly. Yes, go live in a third world country and realize that yeah, our daily life is pretty good. Our general safety and cleanliness is broadly very good, but then you'll also see some neighborhoods and realize they look an awful lot like a third world country too, and weirdly from what I've noticed, they tend to have the most American flags flying everywhere. Then you also need to go live in another first world country and see what they do better than us. For example, go live in Korea for a while, and get sick, or have a wisdom tooth need getting pulled, and suddenly you'll realize that what we call healthcare is an absolute joke and that they utterly dominate us in that area. But then you'll see how school kids are abused and how mental illness or even just learning disability is ignored and brushed under the rug, and you'll realize we have that shit figured out. America has a lot of problems, and America has a lot of things we truly excel in. It's totally fair to look at another county and say yeah, we do X and Y better than them, but you must also be willing to look at other countries and say, you know what, they do Z better than us, we should learn from them. You don't have to compare America against a third world country to want change. That's just fucking stupid. Third world countries are generally not very good places to live, but the shit that happens in America is not okay. Compared to other first world countries, we are a joke. Maybe not with our military, but everything else can go down the drain for all our politicians care. We have no universal health care, the most people jailed on earth, 27th in education, etc. Yet we are the richest country in the world. There's fundamental problems that need to be addressed, and saying shit like third world countries are worse does nothing to help. I don't see it as complaining about what our country has. We have an absolute ton of resources available for us to use, but we see other countries using those resources much more effectively, despite having more people to divide them between. America is clearly a first world country, but it doesn't feel that way when we look at others with similar wealth.